Okay, let's talk about something we've all experienced. You know that feeling when you pull something out of the freezer and it's just wrong? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret ingredient that stops that from happening.
Seriously, we've all been there, right? You're so excited for that pint of ice cream or that quick frozen meal. You open it up, then, it's just not right. It's icy, maybe a little watery, the texture is just weird. So what's actually going on here?
It really is the classic frozen food gamble. On one hand, you have your expectations. Creamy, fresh, delicious. But the reality? So often it's icy, grainy, and just watery. It's a huge letdown, and it all comes down to one thing: moisture going completely rogue while it's freezing and thawing.
But what if I told you there's a way to kind of rig that gamble in your favor? Well, there is, and it's all thanks to this unsung hero that's probably in a ton of the foods you already love. Let's talk about food-grade guar gum.
So what is this stuff? It sounds kind of scientific, but it's actually pretty simple. Guar gum is a natural ingredient, and it's basically a super powerful stabilizer. Its whole job is to manage and control water. And trust me, controlling water is the absolute key to keeping frozen food tasting great.
Okay, so how does it actually do that? Let's dive into what I like to call the science of smoothness. We're going to look at how this one simple, natural powder becomes a bodyguard for your food right down at the microscopic level.
This is where it gets really cool. It's like guar gum has a three-part superpower. First, it acts like a tiny sponge, grabbing onto all the loose water and just locking it down. Because it does that, it physically gets in the way of those big, nasty ice crystals forming. You know, the ones that ruin the texture. And third, it stops something called syneresis. That's just a fancy word for when water separates and leaks out of your food when it thaws. Nobody wants that.
And this stuff is everywhere. We're talking about the noodles and sauces in your freezer meals, baked goods, even things like processed cheese. It's this little invisible helper that keeps the texture just right in so many different foods. But if it's a helper in those foods in the world of dairy, it's an absolute superstar. Think about ice cream. Getting that perfect, smooth, creamy texture is really, really hard to maintain. Guar gum is the key. It controls the water and the fat, and it stops that dreaded icy feeling from taking over, even if that pint's been hiding in your freezer for weeks.
Okay, so we know how it works on a science level. But what does that really mean for the food that ends up on your plate? Let's boil it down to 3 key benefits. This is why it matters so much for quality.
Benefit number 1, and this is the big one, a way better texture and mouthfeel. It's the difference between a chewy meat patty and a rubbery one. It's what keeps doughs from getting stiff and stops your sauces from feeling grainy. Basically, it makes sure the food feels and tastes exactly the way it was supposed to.
Second, you get a longer, more stable shelf life. By locking down that moisture, it helps prevent freezer burn, which means the food quality doesn't just fall off a cliff after a few weeks. And that's a win-win, right? It means less food waste and a product you can actually count on.
And number 3, consistent quality when you reheat it. This is a game changer for microwave meals. Guar gum makes sure that when you nuke your food, the sauces don't break and separate, and things like rice or potatoes stay soft and, delicious. It helps deliver that just-made feeling.
All right, so let's bring this all home. When you look at everything it does, it's pretty clear that this isn't just some minor additive. It's a genuinely indispensable ingredient for modern frozen foods.
So here's what you really need to remember. Guar gum is natural, it's safe, and it's incredibly effective. It's like a shield for your food, protecting it all the way from the factory freezer to your table. It tackles the biggest problems with frozen food quality, so your experience is a good one time after time.
So next time you dig into a perfectly creamy pint of ice cream or a really good frozen dinner, you'll know what's going on. It's not magic holding it all together. It's just some really, really smart science.
And that science and quality doesn't just happen. It comes from experts in the field. Companies like Agro, who've been a trusted name in food quality since all the way back in 1979. Thanks for tuning in.